So we're on the side of the yard that I call the ag yard, the ag side for agriculture. So these big blue tractors, obviously they're farm tractors. And you know, speaking of farms and agriculture, that's very important to me and this county. Carroll County's roots go back, obviously agricultural roots. Very important to us. In this county, we have a lot of cattle, hay, and poultry. Always top 5 in the state for production goes in those categories. And we service all those farmers, the ones doing poultry, cattle, and hay, and or. So these tractors you see here, this big blue one, it's got a cab on it. A lot of times people look at these cab tractors and say, well, that must be nice, just right around the air conditioning. Well, what that farmer's doing is not only just being in the air, he's protecting himself from the elements. He may have allergies for bees, so it keeps him getting stung by bees. It makes it where he can work longer days. The cab does a lot of stuff other than just comfort. It protects the farmer. It also protects, if he's baling hay, he has a monitor in there, it protects that from getting wet. And I like to show everyone the inside of a cab tractor to see how far they've come. And this is a New Holland 100 horse cab tractor here. I like to show everybody inside here.
What's up, man?
Hey, there's Rhett.
Checking this out, man. This is cool.
Absolutely. So as Rhett's sitting there, this one here has people think that's just a sunroof, and I'll let you look in there. That's actually a load view window. So if you're using the front loader and you're loading stuff up above you, you can actually look through there instead of the front, so you don't have any obstruction of your view. So it's not just a sunroof, it actually has a pretty good purpose to it. So for safety, and as we were saying, if somebody has allergies, if they're inside this cab, they're protected from the bees and all the other elements.
Dust
so
and all of it, yeah.
The dust and everything. So, and as far as talking about hay goes, hay's very important to this county, as we were saying earlier. So someone that was baling hay would need a cab tractor because all the dust. So if you've ever been in a hay field, dust is everywhere. It's very hot. So to be out there and last all day to get the job done, you just about have to have a cab tractor. A lot of people bale hay and they do not have it, but most people are going to have a cab tractor for that reason.
And I'm looking too, like this has so many different hydraulic connections and stuff.
Sure.
So what all could you feasibly run with this particular tractor, something this size?
Sure. So sky's the limit, really. It's got so much hydraulic flow. So these hoses here run this loader as far as lifting up, tilting. You can run a grapple if you want to clean up your property line. When I say grapple, it's like a brush grapple. It's like a claw. So it picks up and you can move stuff all over your property. You can do that with it. You can run a post hole driver. You can run a bush hog. Really, sky's the limit when it comes to these tractors. They're equipped to do pretty much anything in the field that you would need.
Wow, pretty cool. I was noticing also, it's kind of hard to see from back there, man, there's windows literally everywhere. I mean, you have no obstruction of view anywhere inside this tractor, so it's pretty neat, comfortable. Obviously, with the doors closed in this heat, though, it's a little warm, but it's neat to have a little vent you can open up right here to let airflow through.
For fresh air, that's exactly right.
But I mean, this is pretty high tech.
So all these windows Rhett was talking about, all these different, you don't want any obstruction of the view. So everything wants to be safe. You can see as you're going down through the field, you can see at every angle. So as you come back here to the rear of the tractor, you can see that window that Rhett was referring to. That's where they can look right down and see anything that's going on below them here. And this right here is actually the PTO shaft. So this PTO shaft here, it runs everything that's on a PTO driven implements, such as bush hogs, anything that's ran by a PTO, hay balers, right behind you. Yep, there's a tiller there. That tiller is run off of a...
So that just connects right to this tractor?
Yep, that's rusty. We'll find enough.
Yeah. Hey, it's been, you know, anytime you hook it up, it's going to be used. But
yeah.
Having the different implements.
Absolutely. And that's what it takes, yep. And this is the grapple that we were referring to. They go on the front of it.
Four-wheel drive, importance of a four-wheel drive tractor.
So, four-wheel drive in Georgia, we had talked about the heat in Georgia. Let's talk about the wet days as well. So, rainy days comes through, you still got to feed the cows. You still got to do your chores. So, it'd be hard to do that with two-wheel drive. So, in two-wheel drive tractors, it's kind of become a thing of the past. We sell it probably 1 out of every 50 tractors is two-wheel drive.
Wow.
So 99.9% of the tractors we sell here is 4-wheel drive. It's that important, and really that's across the board.
It's kind of like a truck too. Like I always have 4-wheel drive on the
Sure.
truck. Not so much to go try to get it stuck or anything, to not tear up grass if I have to pull across grass.
It's just safer.
Loose areas. Yeah.
You never know when you need it.
Yep. Absolutely. That's important.
Yep. And
You guys got amazing selection out here, and obviously all the different implements. And look how big some of these cutters are back here. That's impressive.
so we have rotary cutters, also known as bush hogs. But Bush Hog's actually a brand. It's a brand that we do not carry. We carry Rhino. So Rhino rotary cutters. We go from 4 feet wide to 20 foot wide. So that one batwing cutter over there is actually 20 foot wide. So you're going down a path, you have a 20-foot swath behind you.
Cut your lawn really quick with that.
Very fast. Front yard be cut real fast. But we have stuff for the front yard. We have lawnmowers from 36 inches up to 72, and then when we get to there, we can jump into the rotary cutters.
Now, I know what this particular piece of equipment is, but explain this funny looking thing back here.
Okay, so that funny thing back there, that's not something you scratch a Bigfoot's back with. What that is that's a hay rake. And so as you're in the hay baling process, there's several different steps. And one of the steps is raking the hay together. So you're raking the hay together to form a windrow, so you can then take one of these hay balers back here and bale the hay. So that machine there actually takes the hay that's on the ground that you have cut, and it puts it in a windrow, and then you drive over that windrow with a tractor with a baler behind you, and that baler picks it up and bales that. That's how it bales the bale.
Good deal. And one thing that I don't know if it picks up my mic on me saying this, but when you cut the hay with a bush hog or with a
hay mower, yep.
hay mower, you have to then let it sit for a little bit of time before you rake it. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So,
because if you do it too quickly, what happens?
It's wet, and then what happens there? It turns green, as they say it. So when it gets green, there's really nothing you can do with it unless you wrap it. And we'll actually talk about wrapping hay in a few minutes. We actually sell hay wrappers as well.
Okay.
So that's for the silage process. It actually goes to a fermentation process where it's green hay, and there's a lot of nutrients, a lot of added value to that. That's another step in the hay baling process, and there's already several steps. But depending on your size of operation, what you're doing with your cattle, or just your hay in general, a lot of hay producers here in the area that do not have cows, they just sell hay. That's part of it.
Clients that buy property, they get a 50-acre farm, and they trade with a farmer and say, look, if you'll come cut my pasture X amount of times a year, you can have the hay.
That's right.
Cutting it. So they'll take the rake, and after it's been cut, they usually come back a day or two later.
Yep. So what you'll do is you'll have a hay mower, a disc mower generally, and you'll cut the hay, and then once it dries, it goes through a drying process. During the drying process, to speed that up, you go through with a tedder.
Okay.
So a hay tedder, and we can actually that's a hay tedder right there. Okay. So the one with the red wheels there, the red hubs, that's a hay tedder. What that does is that picks the hay. You're going through there, and it picks the hay up, turns it, and just flips it. And the way it does it, the thought behind it is it turns it upside down, and lets the bottom side of it dry. Okay. So the hay is wet, it flips it up, lets it dry, and then it dries faster. Then after that's done, once you deem this dry enough, then you go and you rake up windrows. Okay. You rake windrows, and you can bale the hay.
Okay.
So several steps through it.
Definitely. And then obviously there's the square bales, and then there's the big round bales.
That's right. We actually sold a square baler yesterday. Square balers, I'm not going to say they're not as popular as round balers, but it's a lot more work. It's a whole different client base for the hay producer.
Yep.
So it's just a completely
been a lot of landscaping hay and
horse hay.
Hobby, horse hay, stuff like that. The big round bales are what cattle farmers want. They want that to be able to sustain their cows through the time they get
through the winter. That's right, through the winter and so on.
A lot of people don't realize what all goes into that, and and how many cows are actually born here and then moved as calves out west to graze.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, they send them out to feedlot. So many things happen right here, and before it gets back to Kroger or wherever you may buy your meat at. There's so many things goes on, for us having the land, and then once you get the land, getting the ground prepared, getting the grass prepared for us, planting it, fertilizer, so many steps, and then at that point in time, then you can go in and cut the hay, bale the hay, and then you gotta use that to feed the cows, and the cows go out where if they do go out west, they go out west and they come back. More cows are staying here. They're staying here, and people are buying them local, and I think that's outstanding. So a lot of beef is staying here in the county. We have a lot of producers who are selling their own beef right outside of their front door. Sure. They're getting licensed and doing the right things, going through the right steps, and they're selling a lot of beef right here.
It's very interesting. It's kind of crazy to think about how important something like equipment to deal with hay has to deal with that steak that you like to eat.
That's it.
Yeah. So it all ties together, and if it weren't for the farmer, a lot of that stuff, it just wouldn't happen. So,
That's right.
very cool. Well, show us some more spots.
Let's do it. Let's do it.